Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO Zach Stanley.
You know, we've reached this time of the year where the days in between football just seem to take forever. Mm-hmm. When is Sunday coming? I'm ready for Sunday.
We were doing a rundown for today's show. We realized it was Wednesday, and let's be honest, all you want to do on Wednesday is talk about next week's games. Last week's games are done. We're just in a holding pattern.
You know you're getting older when you start caring slightly less about Friday and Saturday because you just want to get to Sunday.
I agree.
That sounds about right. That voice you heard is new SFL family member, Foot. I'm just calling you Foot now.
What up, Foot?
No, we're not doing that. That's unprofessional.
I like that.
Okay.
You know, it's flashy.
There's professionalism at this place?
It's snappy. It's snazzy.
Well, now that we hired you, no, there's no professional.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's done.
What's going on, guys? I'm happy to be back again, and I completely echo that sentiment. Today sucks.
Yeah, today I agree. Football. I'm going to go as far as saying today does suck. It's
Everybody out there in Radio Land, you wish you could wear hats and sandals in your office.
Exactly.
What?
We get to wear whatever we want here.
Okay, he says that because both of them are. I was looking down. I was like, are you actually wearing that? You are.
Corporate culture, baby.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's actually wearing a suit and sandals and a hat. You just can't see it. It's a little weird. Why you got this look?
I can't even believe that you have like a golf shirt on.
I have a collared shirt on every day now. I've been actually stepping up my my dress game. In the
Unless
office.
you're wearing your SFL shirt.
Well, that's usually if I can't find anything clean I want to wear.
Which somehow, although we had a little bit of a printing issue with the SFL shirts, they are the softest shirts in the world.
Correct. I completely agree. I don't know why we're talking about this because nobody else can own them because we have them all in our office.
Well, they can.
If
they tweeted us.
Oh, there you go.
At SFL Show. All right, we got to get into this week's show. It's kind of just dragging. We got some news to talk about today, but obviously we got John's mailbag coming up. And at the end of the show, we are finally looking forward to week 2. We're going to break down half of the 16 NFL matchups. We're going to save the Thursday night game for tomorrow because we'll actually break down the full game for you. So we're one day away from actual football, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yay! I'm excited.
So I get to start thinking about it already, at least.
Oh, correct. Don't worry. We'll be talking about fantasy. Wait, you didn't prepare for this? You didn't see the rundown?
All I've been doing lately
prepare.
is like going home and looking at my lineups.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
So let's get straight to some news that's going to affect week 2. There are some injuries. What a surprise. Injuries already coming out. Ben Tate. Hold on.
Now that's even
stop me.
more of a what a surprise.
Yeah, stop me if you're surprised. Ben Tate and another guy that we should talk about, Jordan Reed, again, injured out for the week. First off, let's start with Ben Tate. He might miss significant action. The diagnosis I've been reading for his sprained knee is potentially 2 to 4 weeks. How much do we love Terrence West?
Well, he's clearly in RB2 territory right now. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You might want to. You could put him in your flex spot, but this is the audition. I mean, the guy gets to come into the league. He's looking sharp. He got a chance last week. He looked good. And now he just gets to play for a few weeks, show off what he can do, and take this job out from under Ben Tate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I drafted West multiple of my leagues. The leagues that I didn't get him, it was just because he went maybe a spot or two before me. Thought very highly of him this year. He's a must-start, I agree, in every option that you have for a flex option, or even an RB2 if you drafted like a guy like LaShawn McCoy and ended up getting somebody else who like a Ben Tate or someone else similar,
or Bishop Sankey or something garbage like that.
Or maybe you thought Ray Rice was going to play this year.
Yeah.
Who?
Sorry.
Who?
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we're not mentioning that, although we do have to talk about that eventually.
He does have a fantasy impact.
Sure, in fantasy salad making at his house when he's creating dinner.
And our more, well, not more.
Beats by Ray.
Our unimportant world, he has a factor in it that's different from everything else that we've been talking about.
That is very correct, and we're not going to go into it anymore. The good thing for Cleveland is they have New Orleans on the schedule this week. I figure that's going to be a high-scoring game. Cleveland actually did some damage against Pittsburgh in the second half. It was a tale of two halves. I don't understand what the heck went on in that game, but they looked impressive on offense. So I'm looking for West and even potentially Isaiah Crowell to have some kind of impact here.
We'll certainly get a picture of what degree to which this guy is going to be a touchdown vulture and how much they're going to start involving him in the offense. I didn't get to watch him, so I don't know if
he caught some balls. He looked pretty good coming out of the backfield. I'll be honest.
The one touchdown run, the second one that he had, where it was about a 20-yard run, I saw ran around the outside. There literally was nobody around him to touch him. It was great blocking all around. So it wasn't like he was busting tackles left and right.
Their line's looking good, though. We could potentially see 2 fantasy backs out of this lineup. That's why people were drafting Terrence West. I know the injury was there, but maybe they were drafting him because they thought this line was improved. And
they had a great game on the ground despite losing Ben Tate. So
yep. Well, no,
there's no reason to think that they couldn't have a decent one this week.
All right, and we have to say one more injury note. It has nothing to do with fantasy at all. John Abraham mulling retirement. You guys see this? That's a sad story.
That's too bad.
It's really it's bad for John Abraham, but even worse for this poor Cardinals defense, man. We just talked about how they stepped up against a potentially really top 5 offense in San Diego, despite missing all these pieces.
Is there a reasoning to this?
He got a major concussion again.
Oh, again.
Yeah, he took a knock with one of his players the other night.
He got kneed in the head or something like that.
And then he went off and just didn't come back.
Well, it's like anything else. This guy, especially types of guys that are in this situation, they've been in the league a long time.
He's 36.
Yeah, they've made a lot of money. You got to put your health first. You got to put your health first no matter what. But this should be an extra easy decision for him if it ends up being the right decision.
Well, when he mentioned the fact that he was having memory issues in the past year, it's time to be done. You got one more concussion.
I have memory issues all the time.
I don't remember the issues I have.
Huh?
Is that worse than memory issues?
Where am I right now?
No, you went too far.
Oh, okay.
You Jasoned that joke.
I'm trying, all right?
It's okay. The best part of the comedy on this show is just when it happens.
That was a vicious groan he let out.
It's like something you do off the air where you don't want to really talk about. It's a little uncomfortable.
Well, I do my Chris Berman groan. Who, by the way, decided to...
He was horrible.
He was horrible.
Horrible.
He was horrible, and he decided to pretty much just endorse the NFL for the decision process. And I swear, it's online. You can watch it. Him talking about the NFL making the right decision for, setting the example and all this crap in the Ray Rice situation.
He's
done games in the past, and he hasn't been.
He's bad. All right, that's the perfect segue.
He just rambles.
Yeah, well, and he rumbles, and he stumbles, and bumbles, all that good stuff. All right, but you did bring a great segue because in the opener I did want to talk about Roger Goodell under fire. You mentioned apparently Chris Berman was saying, oh, what a great job by the NFL. Why? Why is this a great job by the NFL? Reacting to a reaction to a video.
It couldn't have been worse. Not only is this too little, too late at this point anyway. Nobody really cares about the decision that they made. It was news just because it was news. But Ray Rice was already gone from the Ravens. He was not going to get picked up by another team. We all know that because that would be PR suicide.
Yep.
So they come in and say this. It's too little, too late. Not only that, but they made the decision. And there is a double jeopardy clause in the CBA that you cannot try the same, offense of a player over again. So they literally just overrode that too. I mean, there's all sorts of red tape going on here that is just miserable.
Nothing. Did you see him? He appeared on I think it was CBS or something like that, and did an interview on that, saying that it made no sense. Oh, we didn't want to go around the police to get the video.
Anybody
footage.
can say the right thing. It's about doing.
No, he didn't even say the right thing. If you listen to his process, he said, "Oh, the police told us they couldn't give it because it was an investigation ongoing, so we didn't get the video, and they didn't want to go around the cops to go to the hotel to get the video. Yet the case was closed in a month, and this has been 3.5 months since. So his story makes no sense. It has holes in it. Why even tell that story?"
And here's the big shame. In my opinion, is that Roger Goodell, his job is for the NFL, and the NFL is the owners. And when doing that job, he has been one of the guys out of any commissioner in sports right now that has looked out more for his owners than the overall success, and not necessarily success, but good nature of the league. and all of the members surrounding the league. He was at the forefront of all the referee issues. We saw that. He's got this stuff going on, different suspensions, making statements to players but not making those same statements to owners. There's tons of things that you can list off here, but he is not going to get fired because the owners do like him. The owners like the job that he is doing.
Yeah, to me, a good commissioner is a guy that you don't hear about. And that's what Paul Tagliabue was very effective about doing. He ran the league. Granted, it seems like there's a lot more issues nowadays, but maybe that stuff just didn't come to light.
Well, no, yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot more issues. There were probably the same issues back then, but guess what? No social media back when Paul Tagliabue was in the league. No Twitter. No incessant internet every 5 seconds.
No realization of what is going to happen to everybody's heads, if there was, on concussions and all that.
And the worst, no smartphones to capture this footage of players doing ridiculous things and then getting in trouble for it.
There were still elevator cameras, though.
Yeah.
No, I said, no. Ridiculous things not beating the crap out of your wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is not a ridiculous thing people... Like, come on. Like, Colin Kaepernick gets iPhone videos all the time of him doing, like, kind of weird things, like at house parties and stuff.
Gronk the same way, partying.
Okay, but Gronk is out partying like a ridiculous human being.
Well, I mean,
It's
and
his thing.
if you look at it during Roger Goodell's tenure, what is happening? Still rapid growth. The owners are getting more money. They got a favorable deal with the CBA with how much they can guarantee the players. They're saving money and making more money, and that is what business is all about.
Yeah,
they don't really care, and they're not going to care.
They're making money, and they're going to continue to make money in spite of how incompetent their commissioner is. I feel like this whole thing about if he ended up burying this video and just wanted to kind of make it go away because he did say he made a mistake, he's gonna get run out of town. If something comes up that, I don't know, TMZ figures out, yeah, he had this video 3 months ago, he's done. His career is over in sports. It's over in general.
To me, it just doesn't matter. And I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but we saw what happened. You know, we saw her getting dragged out of the elevator unconscious and kind of getting dragged out of the elevator to a degree that just didn't look like there was any care in or concern in the situation whatsoever.
There was none.
There was a floor drag, and this guy is jacked and could easily have lifted her up.
Yeah.
And I just don't see, going forward, how we can look at this guy in any sort of positive manner. It's all going to be about how much the PR regarding the situation can dictate his future.
Yeah.
Because if the owners feel like they have to make that decision, then that'll be the bigger deal.
You know what?
It'll be because of the PR.
I think it's time to move on to some happier talk. News is over, and that means it can only be time for one thing, and that's John's Mailbag coming out after the break. And you're also the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
That is right. If you missed it, we were breaking down all 32 teams over the offseason, but it kind of moved John's mailbag out of the way, which was depressing because that's my segment.
I went on a Roger Goodell tangent.
You did?
Roger Bedell. Roger Horrible Dell.
Roger Abysmal Dell.
Oh, I like that.
Abysmal Dell.
Abysmal's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
a good one.
Abhorrent is also a good word.
Oh, yeah.
Abhorrent
I do
Dell.
like
Nah,
that.
I don't like
Yeah.
that. Abhorrent
Very
Tell.
nice.
I just like smashing him because let's be honest, for years you said he hasn't had the best interest of the players in mind and also the fans. I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah, like I saw what happened in that video. Finally, we didn't know exactly what went on in there. Yes, you did.
You're a moron.
You had Ray Rice and her come in. I know I'm going to rant again.
He's going off, guys.
They had Ray Rice and his fiance at the time come into the office, which that alone is terrible for processing. Like, that is not how you issue proceedings on a situation like that, is to have the woman that just got jacked in the face be under the gun being interviewed by the league right next to the guy that jacked her in the face. It's the whole process has been awful from top to bottom, legally, through the NFL, everything.
Correct. We need to move on. I'm tired. I'm
Fine.
tired of talking
Fine.
about it. I don't want to talk
Let's
about
move
it. You interrupted me saying how much I loved having John Allen's mailbag back. Thanks a lot.
I love the mailbag too.
Okay, fine. Then let me do it.
I
Start
love
it.
it too.
All right. If you guys want to send in some questions for John Allen's mailbag, make sure they don't mention the words Ray or Rice. I don't even care if you're talking about Ben's Minute Rice. Make sure it doesn't mention the word Rice. Just say Ben's Minute.
What if it's Rice-A-Roni?
That still has the word Rice in it.
But it could be Jerry Rice.
It could just be the San Francisco
which is the
treat.
San Francisco treat. That's
Then
Jerry
just
Rice.
say Jerry number 80, and we'll know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Just don't mention the word Rice for at least the next 2 weeks. At least. Okay?
Fine.
We good? All right, tweet us at SFL Show with your questions. No hashtag Rice, no nothing. All right, Carlos D writes, Ty Lawson took a shot at James Harden and the Dallas Cowboys at the same time. Is this fair or foul? Has anybody actually seen this picture?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah, I thought it was dumb.
Okay. Why? I love this. I think this was funny.
Because it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's not even Houston. So
Okay, yeah, that's the best part. But the joke is there because James Harden was wearing a defensive coordinator headset and it said, oh, look, apparently the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. My bigger question here is people are finally like making fun of the Dallas Cowboys on like a big national level. They're supposed to be America's team. This isn't supposed to be a cool thing.
2 or 3 more games like the one that we saw on Sunday will send them into a laughingstock. And the shame is that they sold, I mean, the amount of 49ers fans that were at that game was unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's a franchise that notoriously travels well, though.
Of course, but we're talking about Cowboys Stadium here.
It's Jerry
and we're
World.
talking about the opener of the season, and the reason that a lot of them weren't there is because they have no hope for this season, which isn't a big surprise because it looks like there's very, very little at this point.
I always enjoy when athletes make fun of other athletes.
I love it because I think there's a little bit of heat here. I really do. I think Ty Lawson. The joke in the NBA is James Harden is one of the top players, but because he like refuses to play defense, he can't ever be considered a top player.
He also likes to go 8 for 28 from time to time.
What do you mean from time to time? It's more than that. Those okay. To be fair, I think he learned that from his former teammate Russell Westbrook. That's also his favorite stat line.
That's true. They are both guys that love to jack up shots. But the criticism of, I don't really want to get too much into the Houston Rockets here, but the criticism of the Houston Rockets is that they are literally all scoring. They don't have any guys that like to play defense. And Dwight Howard, for all the times we've seen these crazy blocks and all this stuff, he is not a fundamental defensive player. Like,
no, he's
it's
flashy.
great. It's great that you can slap the ball into the stands rather than going up in the air and grabbing it so that your team has possession.
Yeah, as opposed
That's
to
pretty cool.
Anthony Davis, who's less flashy but actually knows how to play defense. Except his team last year made him look exposed because all he did was just come off double team.
Yeah,
Which is ridiculous.
The Rockets have a team that people are going to want to go see because they're flashy, but they're never going to have any viability in the playoffs.
Yeah. That is accurate. All right, we've got to move on. Oh, more basketball talk. Great. Carlos M. writes, with the media frenzy surrounding the NFL, how has the Atlanta Hawks situation managed to fly so far under the radar? We're talking about an owner who basically did the opposite of the Donald Sterling. He had a racist email that was sent out to somebody in the team, members of the team, and he self-reported it to the league and said, I'm selling my shares. This was really wrong. I should never have done this.
Well, it's at least mildly refreshing to see somebody come out so quickly and pretty much just dishonor themselves, which is what he did. But I don't know if you saw this whole thing. The write-up on this of what he said was just absolutely terrible.
It was pretty. Yeah, he's saying there's too many black fans at Hawks games and it's scaring the white fans away.
Well, and he made a comment about Luol Deng.
No. That was Danny Ferry.
Oh yeah, that was Danny Ferry.
Yeah, we got to talk about that too. But no, what Levinson said was that too many African Americans at the bars around the games, which scare off the white fans. That's why they don't want to buy season tickets. So he said the artists after the game should be white so that they can attract some white fans.
Your team
really
is in
a little
Atlanta.
weird.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, what was he expecting? Maybe your franchise.
It's one of the most populated African American cities in the country.
Maybe their fan base just doesn't like the team. They don't particularly have a great brand of basketball over there. They're boring.
And that's the thing, is that's what they should be taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Is that they have such
culture
such
there.
a good urban base.
TNT's based there. Like, come on, dude. Charles Barkley's right there all the time. Get him involved in the franchise. Like, do something.
But you're absolutely right. Is that no matter what is going on? I mean, we saw when they had Joe Johnson and Josh Smith a few years back when they were really making a run of the playoffs against the Celtics. That was exciting to watch, and those were some of the loudest crowds that we've seen in the NBA in recent years in the playoffs. This team is unwatchable at this point.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, there's no, even though they made the playoffs, who cares?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for such a large, populous city. They just don't draw well for pretty much every team.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost a hockey team. The Braves haven't drawn well since the mid-'90s. Falcons are getting a new stadium. I don't know how, but they're not going to be able to pack that as it is. So, and the Hawks just fall right on under that umbrella of just poor sports fandom down there.
Yeah, but let's talk about Danny Ferry. Man, you're going to get some isolation for the fan base, mainly because he was not fired over this quote you're talking about. In a scouting report about Luol Deng, they were trying to pick him up this offseason, he, quote, said he has a little African in him and saying that he was two-faced. So the rest of the quote I'm not going to say because it just made absolutely no sense.
About storefronts and whatnot?
Yeah, he said you're going to say one thing in the back and then sell me something cheaper out the back door. Like, what are you talking about?
Sell something out front and then sell something
cheaper out the back. Like, you racist. Like, this doesn't even make sense.
That was really brutal, and I just can't believe that these things are going on still after what we just saw happen. I mean, regardless of what sort of racial thoughts that you have in your head.
Keep it off a scouting report.
You're in an upper tier position in American sports, following up the destruction of a man.
Hold on, but can you pick a worse situation to do this though? Luol Deng is considered one of the best, most professional NBA athletes. Everybody in Chicago when he got traded said I can't believe they traded Luol Deng. He was my favorite teammate in the world.
I love Luol Deng. I'm a Bulls fan myself watching him.
Yeah, everyone was upset when he left, right? Everybody.
I was PO'd when he left. It's just he was an ultimate team player, great defensive player, guy you put on LeBron James and could somewhat contain him. It's crazy that these guys have this mentality in a sport where it's dominated by African American men, and we know it's dominated. It's not like it's a secret. And people are still putting this mentality out there that, okay, I can say whatever I want because I'm in a position of power, essentially.
Yeah, okay. Magic Johnson waited on this saying Danny Ferry should step down, so the next thing means Danny Ferry's stepping down, right? Because once Magic Johnson speaks, you listen. He's basically the overlord of the NBA. He really is. He's NBA culture.
Yeah. Well, he just has such a high position with the Dodgers now, and his remaining involvement with the Lakers and with TNT, all that stuff going on. So yeah, he's a voice that people look to. He's leadership in the community, all the history that he has. But there's just, not to say that there's no place for this is just an understatement. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's still going on.
Yeah, especially after the news of
I can't believe that people can't keep their stupid mouths shut and fall in line with what is fair and what is right and what is just, and turn themselves around to not be this type of person. It's crazy to me.
Especially in the position he's in, Danny Ferry, man. When you're dealing with this kind of stuff, why, even if you have those feelings in your heart, why are you putting it on a league-wide document that goes out to your fellow
Danny Ferry
scouts?
of all people. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was recorded or did secretly. He specifically wrote this down.
Yeah.
That's even more baffling compared to the Sterling situation.
And what does this have to do with pro sports? Okay, say he's a terrible guy. Say he's a backstabber. What does it have to do with his race? What's wrong with you people? Yeah, Zach is sitting there laughing that we have to actually talk about this on the show, right?
Well, it's just sickening. It really is at this point. Yep. I have out of the group of friends that I have, I'm one of the guys in the group that gets particularly pissed off when things are said that just even in joking passing that just shouldn't be said. The fact that these are being said on a public level by people that are supposed to be respected and they are supposed to be leaders of teams, it's an abomination.
I was going to say, what do we do at this point, though? Do we appoint somebody who's overseeing, because Adam Silver has been really proactive about anytime something like this happens, we should act. We should make sure this is not part of culture in sports, especially the NBA. Why has nothing happened yet? This is basically on par with Donald Sterling. This is saying horrible racist things about a current player, not just fans.
Well, look how long it took for the Ray Rice stuff to come out. Maybe it's going to take time.
This is two things in the same franchise. We have an owner stepping away from the team, selling his shares for an email, but Danny Ferry's allowed to remain with the team for saying deplorable things about a player.
I'm sure this is not the last that we've heard this situation. I think something else will come about.
I was going to say, I'm really hoping that the sports media is not blowing up this Ray Rice thing so big that something really that important as this is going to fly under the radar.
They are. I certainly wish that these had happened 2 or 3 weeks apart so they both got their due. Right now, all the discussion is about Ray Rice, and that's fine. Domestic violence is rampant around the country, and what the NFL did was basically condone it. And the fact that we can't have the discussion about racism that we need to be having regarding these incidents is a shame.
Yes.
And you're right. Hopefully it comes to light a little bit more and gets a little more exposure after we kind of get over this thing.
Yeah, isn't that sad? Apparently in the media we need to choose between domestic violence and racism.
They should be being equally covered.
Yeah, we have so many news outlets. You have our shows. You have all-day media. Cover both stories.
It's the money-making machine in the NFL.
It's true. It's really not that difficult. We have happier things to talk about, I swear, on the Star Fantasy League show. Coming after the break, we are talking Week 2 fantasy. I'm so excited. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick. Only on The Team.
You can't see it, America, or Rochester. We're not actually out in America, but you can't see it. I'm shaking my head because Cage Guy got it wrong.
We're on online in America, though.
That is true. TheTeam.fm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening on TheTeam.fm, you're on the internet.
And the shows get posted to SoundCloud.
Which means you can tweet us. You can tweet us at SFL Show. Right now, if you're listening online, just tell us. Say hello on the internet. We'll also be on the internet.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It's nice.
It's a nice culture. Yeah, we can talk about things. Except I want to talk about happy things. Just please tweet us about happy things that don't involve, what's his name? Ray Pasta? Ray Macaroni? We're not talking. I don't want to talk about
No, I don't know who that is.
Ray Lomain.
That was racist.
Ray Chow Mein.
I like that. Ray Chow Mein, yeah.
How is that not racist and mine is?
I don't make the rules.
It just sounds cool.
I don't make the
All
rules.
right.
I'm just the host of this show. I
right.
don't really know. All right, let's move forward. We're breaking down Week 2 of the fantasy NFL season, which means there's 16 games. We're breaking this down over 2 different days. Today is the actual 1 o'clock games. There actually are 8 this week. Thank you for actually having a decent split this week as opposed to last week, 2 4 o'clock games. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, there wasn't much option last week. You just watched the Cowboys get killed.
Yeah, I watched the Red Zone channel for the 4 o'clock, and it was really stupid.
And the Ralph is alive.
You'll be at the Ralph.
The Ralph is alive with the sound of Boozik.
No. You could have said the Ralph is alive with the sound of shout, but no, apparently you didn't go with that.
The Bills do make me want to shout.
There you go. See, how easy was that? Come on.
I can't wait, man.
All right, let's again. You made a good segue. I'm really proud of you.
I know.
Today.
I thought there's a good chance we might be running with the Bills here.
We're starting off with all the 1 o'clock games. Like I said earlier in the show, we're going to break down the Thursday night game in full tomorrow. So we're not going to talk about that from fantasy because most contests on StarFantasyLeagues.com, including all the guaranteed games, start on Sunday. And you got a bonus code for, how about free 14, FREE 14, 100% to $2,000 and an $11 credit to get involved in Week 2 contests right now.
There's still a full slate starting tomorrow, though.
I know, but I'm saying the guaranteed games, the big ones, are on Sunday.
Oh, there's a lot of money there this week.
Yeah, over $12,000.
Over $12,000.
Yep.
12 grand?
Oh, yeah.
Holy mackerel.
And a $500 free roll. Just whatever. Just lots of money. No big deal.
And the site's been buzzing lately. There are tons of people on getting involved, probably because it's just so much fun.
And it's football.
Yeah.
And everyone's so excited.
And I love it.
Yep, this is true. All right, let's start off with that game you mentioned. Miami at 1-0 Buffalo.
Well, the Bills are +1, which I thought was interesting, but we'll take it. That's fine with me.
You just don't want to be a touchdown dog.
I bet if it was the first week, we'd be like +3.5 right now, or +3.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Over under 42, so there's really not that much, in my opinion, to like here. The New England running game wasn't really able to get going. Also because they pretty much had to pass for the whole second half.
Yep.
But they weren't really able to get much going, so it's hard to know what kind of damage the Bills' run game will be able to do. I think they're still going to be great because they have so much to offer and so many different looks to give the Miami defense. The one thing that I am concerned about here, but I would look at the value of Mike Wallace from a fantasy perspective.
God, you are in love with Mike Wallace. I know he caught a touchdown last week.
Yeah, he did good last week. And the Bills, although they did look good and they were able to contain the big play guy that we've seen in Alshon Jeffrey last week, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave up a big reception to Mike Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at the last 2 games against Miami last year. Second game at home, Fred Jackson had over 100 yards rushing. C.J. Spiller had 83 yards rushing. So I expect the Bills just to do the exact same thing. They were successful running the ball last week against Miami. Wallace last year, 5 for 76 in the first game, but in Buffalo, 4 for 38, which earlier in the season, Stephon Gilmore was wearing a club on his hand. So I feel like if we have him healthy, I think he can shut down Mike Wallace. I actually don't expect him to have a big game.
Interesting. I'm actually, the only guy I'm looking at because of a value standpoint here is Noshawn Moreno, just because of what he did in game 1. He's under $7,000, starfantasy.com. He could be somebody, if you're looking for some value at the running back spot, to put in, to save some money to get bigger names elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills gave up 86 yards, I think, rushing to Matt Forte last week.
And that's Matt Forte.
Yeah, and Moreno's not going to be much of a threat catching the ball, but I still think he'll get 20-plus touches easily in the game for carries. So
perfect. Let's talk about a game where I don't think either this line makes absolutely no sense. The over-under makes no sense. Jacksonville, Washington, the over-under is 43.5, but the line is Washington by 6. Did they watch any of the Week 1 contest to make this line? Washington looked horrible. Jacksonville looked pretty decent for a half against Philadelphia and then completely just rolled over. But why is Washington favored by 6 in any game?
I'm not too surprised, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, they're home against Jacksonville. I don't care what we saw in that. Okay, Nick Foles fumbling, all sorts of issues going on in that first half with Jacksonville getting out to that early lead. They get out to that lead, which was 17-0, and they lose by 18. So, they covered the spread. They covered the spread in the second half.
Yep.
And it's just, that was unbelievable. So, Jacksonville, I've thought all along, is going to be the worst team in the league this year. I don't think that's going to change.
But you don't think this game's going to be fantasy gold? I feel like there might be a lot of gold here, especially because no Jordan Reed in this game, which bumps up Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon up to crazy levels.
No, I do like Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon. I think that we are going to get a good read on what is going to happen with RG3 this season.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised out of the gate that he didn't have a great game. He took a few sacks that he probably shouldn't have. But given, how things have gone with him from an injury standpoint, the playing time that he's gotten, dealing with injuries, he's got a new system that he's working with. I wasn't that surprised at all that it wasn't a great game for them offensively. They still need to get in sync. But I think we'll get more of a read on what is going on.
Pun.
On what is going on in this game.
No, I agree. Garçon is a target machine. Double digits last week. It's going to happen again, no doubt. I expect Washington's defense actually to hold the Jacksonville passing game kind of to a T.
They couldn't do that last year at all. They were horrible.
They only gave up 201 passing yards last week. Granted, I know it was against
Fitzpatrick. Yeah, okay.
But Fitzpatrick was known for gunslinging the ball around and collecting some yards. So, and you got Chad Henne, throwing lame ducks up there.
I personally still think Chad Henne's a decent value play this week. I really do.
I think there's always, I had him in, I was in a 2 QB league last week, and it's a really deep league.
Yeah.
I think it's 20 roster spots, and he was the only guy that I could pick up that was a reason. It was Castle and him were the only ones out there, and I was like, I actually don't feel too bad about going with Henne.
I mean, it also depends if Cecil Shorts plays in this game, what Hearns and Lee's value look like. But if no Shorts, I like Hearns or Lee, depending on how much money you want to save here.
This is probably the crappiest game out of the ones. Well, that's not true.
Yeah,
it's a crappy game,
yeah.
But yet I would love to get some time to watch it if I wasn't going to be at the Ralph.
From a fantasy standpoint,
from a fantasy standpoint, and I am hoping that RG3 kind of gets it together.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the third game from a fantasy perspective. I think has some interest. Dallas and Tennessee, only because of how much of a train wreck Dallas is, and you can just put up fantasy numbers against them regardless of who you are. We saw that last week. San Francisco just went nuts, but Tennessee, I like them.
Yeah,
I thought they looked
like
really
them
good.
too. I think that they've got a good structure going on there. They've got 2 up and coming receivers. Delaney Walker is no slouch at all.
Yeah, he might be some interest.
He's a weapon. And then in the backfield, they have a lot of versatility by adding Dexter McCluster. We only saw 6 carries from Bishop Sankey last week, but they have 3 guys that can run the ball reasonably well if Bishop Sankey continues to develop. Suddenly, with Jake Locker looking like he was almost flawless last week.
Yeah.
If he's able to keep that going, this offense looks pretty good, and certainly with this matchup, I think almost everybody is in play.
Yeah, I actually have pretty much everyone written down. Even Sean Green, sadly, is in play in this game because of how inexpensive he is. McCluster, 5,500. Locker, even at 14,000, might be worth a play as your second quarterback. Just depends what you want to do. I think you can throw him in, maybe throw some Henny in there, save some money.
Yeah, I think if you're playing season-long format, Locker to me is a top 12 option this week, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, Hunter and Wright both got 8 targets and 7 targets, respectively, last week against a team that they were pretty much killing at that point. So if Dallas manages to put some points on it, I think they'll even get more targets, but I expect about the same production.
This is one of the most exciting young wide receiver tandems in the league.
It is.
And they finally have a guy that can throw to him. Let's just hope he doesn't get injured.
That's true. Let's move on from a great receiving tandem up and coming to a declining receiving tandem because the quarterback can't get them the ball. The New York Giants going against Arizona. This game bores the crap out of me from a fantasy perspective. It just does.
The Cardinals are about to go 2-0.
Yes, I agree.
So that's cool and good for them because I think people were skeptical of that happening, but I think that Fitzy and Floyd are in play in this game for sure.
I got 2 guys that are rated higher than Carson Palmer this week on Star Fantasy Leagues. Tony Romo and Jay Cutler. I'd rather have Palmer over both of those guys this week.
Really?
Yeah. I think Romo, you don't know what you're going to get with him. Probably not great. Cutler, with no Jeffrey, possibly. I don't like the matchup that they have. I like Palmer this week. So.
Whoa.
I didn't even hear about that.
Neither did I. Where'd you hear that?
Jeffrey, he was out mispractice again today.
Everybody in the world missed practice today. I'm seeing things come in. Apparently everybody's missing practice. But the only guy I'm interested in this game is Larry Donnell, who has been an absolute, we keep saying, Donnell.
Donald?
No, it's not Donald. Larry Donnell.
Are you sure?
Arizona last season was the worst by far against tight ends. In week 1, they got shredded by Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates. I think Donnell is the sleeper pick of the week at tight end.
I can agree with that. He's a guy that is going to provide you with significant value. He's a big target. Eli Manning loves his tight ends, and as you said, Arizona awful against tight ends.
All right, let's move. We got a couple more games just to breeze through here, but how about New England at Minnesota? It has the highest over/under aside from Dallas, Tennessee, of these early games we're talking about, 49. Is there any way that Adrian Peterson doesn't have a monster performance against New England? They couldn't just stop anyone that had legs last year on the run game. I mean, I know Vince Wilfork had a big deal to do with that being out, but I think he's in line for a monster game at home.
I know this is a team that we're going to talk about later, but would you take, if you had the choice, would you take Jamal Charles or Adrian Peterson?
Adrian Peterson.
Peterson.
Yeah? Especially considering
what happened with Moreno last week with 134 against New England all day.
Yeah. I just don't think New England's defense is that good.
I think Denver's defense.
I think you're right. I mean, they looked terrible. Miami controlled that game offensively.
Yep.
And I think there are guys to look at for Minnesota aside from Peterson. Patterson, his price probably after last week is getting up there. I mean, he only had 3 catches. He had that big run. It wouldn't have been a great game if he didn't end up getting that big run. But Craig Jennings, who is looking very reliable and had a solid game last week, I think based on what Mike Wallace was able to do against New England, he could have a great game this week. Definitely a wide receiver 3 option.
Yeah, 7 targets, 6 catches out of there. A guy that I might be looking at who led the wide receivers in targets. Do you know who it is? On New England?
Oh, on New England?
Yeah.
Julian Edelman?
No, Kenbrell Tompkins actually led them in targets last week.
Really?
Yeah. He had 10 targets for the wide receiver. 5 catches, but I watched the film on it. All the passes that he had that he didn't catch, Brady's fault.
You got to keep an eye on Aaron Dobson to see if he's going where he's going to be at this week.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a healthy scratch. Who knows again? All right, coming off the break, we have 3 more games to break down for week 2. And we're going to give you some more value on StarFantasyLeagues.com. We're just so nice like that. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back, and we are not breaking down the early slate for week 2. We broke down 5 games, but we still got 3 more, so let's just get right into it. No small talk. We like to shoot the breeze on this show. Zach, I'm looking at you.
I like to talk some smack.
Yeah, you do like to
I like
talk
to
some
throw
smack.
down.
You want to talk some smack about Johnny Manziel? We're talking about New Orleans, or New Orleans, Cleveland. I don't know why someone's.
Why would I need
Carolina.
to talk about him?
Because CBS, I watched that game obviously as a Steeler fan. They showed him 49 times on the sidelines. 49.
You counted
Counted?
49?
I didn't actually count. No.
That would have been awesome if you did.
Why would I count? I was watching my team dominate until they
true.
stopped dominating.
Well, it looks like Johnny Clipboard is still going to be hanging out again this week. But as we talked about, Terrence West, a great option, I think, to go with, particularly for the value, which after last week, coming in early, you think he's definitely on the low end from price range. So he didn't climb that high after what happened last week. And I think you've got some significant upside there, especially if he's the guy that ends up getting the touchdown.
yeah, he's still under 7,000, which is definitely value city for a running back.
Yeah. And the one guy that I would shy away from, I mean, obviously, if you're in season-long leagues, you're not going to ever. But in daily leagues, I wouldn't put Drew Brees in your top 4. I just would not do it.
I think Cleveland had a tale of two halves, as I mentioned,
did.
on offense and defense. They shut down Pittsburgh in the second half. Ben looked kind of shaky. I'm not sure if it was him or just them getting pretty good pressure. But that's a pretty good defense. It really is.
Yeah, I just think there are better options if you want to choose one of the top QBs out there this week.
But what about, I mean, I know his price just skyrocketed being a rookie, but what about Brandon Cooks, though? Man, he looked
electric.
pretty good.
But I like Colston better. He's a cheaper option on Star Fantasy Leagues this week, and he had 8 targets last week. The other guy that I like, obviously, is Andrew Hawkins. We talked about him yesterday. 10 targets last week.
You don't like Miles Austin? Seth called in and he told me
right.
Seth called in and he told me he still likes Miles Austin this week. No,
Keep an eye on Jordan Cameron and see where he's at. He didn't practice today, and Hawkins should see a significant boost if Cameron is unable to go.
especially against New Orleans. They may not have the worst or the best defense, but they will give up points because teams are going to be throwing against them a lot.
Yeah.
So expect that. All right, this game, Atlanta-Cincinnati. I'm interested in the Green-Dalton combo in this game. Because, again, another team that likes to give up yards and get in shootouts is this Atlanta Falcons team.
Yeah, this is definitely a stack option, and I am also just in love with Gio, for sure.
You don't like the fact that they came out and specifically said, we want to get Jeremy Hill more carries? That's not a good thing you want to hear from Gio.
It doesn't concern me that much, particularly because Gio was just a freaking highlight reel, and he'll continue to be.
He's good.
He's the guy that's going to be catching balls out of the backfield. It doesn't really matter that Gio could have 50 yards on the ground and 75 in the air easily. So, no, I don't see that affecting much. I see the possibility of them coming out with 2 sets. And also, this is what went on all before the season, was this discussion that, they want to get Jeremy Hill the ball more. So he got, 4 touches last week? Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll see 8. Like, whoop-de-doo. Doesn't do anything for me. I'm not worried.
All right, fine. What about this last game on the slate? Detroit and Carolina. Foot, you told me you liked some of this game.
I do. I like my man, Joyke Bell, all day. He's the great flex option. He might even be an RB2. With Cam Newton back, the last time he played Detroit was 3 years ago. Granted, it was a different defense, different team. He did have 4 interceptions, so it'd be interesting to see how much it translates over to that. Like Kelvin Benjamin again, I think he's based on what his price is, I think he's
under 10,000.
I like Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen in this matchup.
Don't forget about your boy Golden Tate either. 6 targets, 6 catches last week. Another great option. So.
Can we keep saying this? How much we love Golden Tate?
And then as he continues to dominate, we'll just be like, and we were right. So you should probably listen to us.
I have a serious question. Is Golden Tate this year's Kendall Wright that he was last year for us?
I think so.
Oh my God.
I mean, Kendall Wright was going really late last year.
Yeah, that is true.
But Golden Tate was still very valuable.
I'm saying, it's the Star Fantasy League show. We are on the Golden Tate Express, and if you're not on the Golden Tate Express, you're not listening to the right show. I'm sorry, you're just not. Take it easy, guys.